So these 70-year-old grandpas pulled off the biggest heist in British history and would have gotten away with it if they weren't boomer criminals in a millennial world. But this story starts in London's Diamond District, with a vault that everyone thought was unbreakable, and a group of elderly ex-cons with nothing to lose except maybe their dentures. This team had the oldest thief known to man, Brian Reeder, who was 76 and could barely walk upstairs but was still called the governor. And then you got Terry Perkins, who needs insulin shots every few hours, and Kenny Collins, who's so deaf he can't hear his own walkie-talkie, and Danny Jones, who reads forensics books in his mom's dressing gown and a phase hat, and talks to his dog like it's a person. But somehow these grandpas spent 3 years planning this heist, watching YouTube tutorials about drills, and reading Forensics for Dummies. They picked Easter weekend, when everyone was away, and here's where it gets wild because they dressed up as construction workers with high-vis vests that said gas on them, and just walked right in through the front door like they owned the place. They start drilling through this concrete wall with this $5,000 drill they basically learned to use from YouTube. And they're drilling for hours, but then the pump breaks, and they have to leave and come back the next day. Which is crazy because who leaves in the middle of a heist? But these guys did. And their leader Brian Reeder straight up quit because he thought they'd get caught. The rest of them went to a hardware store and bought new equipment. During the heist, using their real names like it's just a casual Saturday shopping trip. When they got back in, they had to squeeze through this tiny hole that was only 18 inches wide, and Terry Perkins was too fat to fit through, so he had to wait outside while Danny Jones and this mystery guy they call Basil crawled in and started smashing open safety deposit boxes. They found so much gold and diamonds they had to wheel it out in trash bins while Kenny Collins was supposed to be on lookout, but actually fell asleep. And they would have gotten away with all $300 million of it too, except they made the most boomer mistake ever because they used their own phones to make calls and Kenny Collins drove his own Mercedes to meetings. The police were like, these guys cannot be serious, and started following them around and bugging their cars. These old guys are just sitting in pubs bragging about doing the biggest heist ever, while the police are recording everything. Then they tried to sell the diamonds in a public parking lot under a CCTV camera and got caught red-handed, trying to melt down millions in gold on a dining room table. Now they're all in jail except for Basil, who's still out there somewhere, probably living it up with $15 million in stolen diamonds. And get this, they never found 2/3 of what was stolen, so there's still over $200 million worth of diamonds just sitting somewhere in London, and nobody knows where except maybe these grandpas who are now sitting in prison probably complaining about the food and taking their afternoon naps.